Some mistakes haunt us forever, living in the space between heartbeats, in the silence between breaths, in the moment when everything changes and can never be changed back. Simon Cowell had witnessed every kind of human pain on the Got Talent stage, but nothing could have prepared him for the woman who walked onto the stage that cold December evening, carrying the weight of a single second that had destroyed her entire world. Her name was Claire Thompson, and she was 40 years old. She moved like someone who had forgotten how to trust her own body, each step careful and deliberate, as if sudden movements might shatter what little composure she had left. She wore a simple black sweater and dark jeans, and her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail that hadn't been styled in months. Around her wrist was a small blue bracelet, the kind children make from colored string, that looked like it had been worn every day since it was made. The audience applauded politely as she positioned herself at center stage, but there was something in Claire's bearing that immediately commanded a different kind of attention. She didn't acknowledge the crowd or smile. She simply stood there, one hand unconsciously touching the blue bracelet, looking down at the stage floor as if it might hold answers to questions too painful to ask aloud. Simon sat at the judges' table, his usual confident posture shifting as he observed Claire. 20 years of experience had taught him to recognize the different types of pain people carried onto his stage. This woman wasn't just grieving, she was carrying guilt so profound, it seemed to emanate from her very soul. The host approached with his customary warmth, but even he seemed to sense that this required the gentlest possible touch. "Welcome to Britain's Got Talent. Please tell us your name." "Claire Thompson," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She cleared her throat and tried again. "I'm Claire Thompson. I'm from Cardiff." "And what brings you here tonight, Claire?" Claire's hand tightened around the blue bracelet on her wrist. When she looked up for the first time, her eyes held a pain so raw, so fresh, that several audience members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "I'm here because I made a promise," she said quietly. "A promise to my son before he died." The casual chatter in the theater stopped immediately. The judges leaned forward, recognizing that they were about to hear something that would change everyone in the room. "His name was Ethan," Claire continued, her voice growing steadier as she spoke his name. "Ethan Michael Thompson. He was 8 years old. He loved football and dinosaurs and making these friendship bracelets." She held up her wrist, showing the simple blue bracelet that had clearly been made by small, inexpert hands. "He made this for me 3 days before he died. He said blue was my favorite color, and he wanted me to wear it always so I'd remember how much he loved me." The audience was completely silent now. At the judges' table, one of the women had tears already forming in her eyes. "How did Ethan die?" the host asked gently. Claire closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them, they were filled with a self-recrimination so complete it was almost unbearable to witness. "In a car accident," she said, her voice beginning to break. "I was driving. It was raining, and I was running late to pick him up from football practice. My phone rang, and I looked down at it for just a second. Just 1 second." The theater fell into profound silence. This wasn't just about loss. This was about guilt, about the kind of mistake that destroys lives in the space of a heartbeat. "The other car ran the red light," Claire continued, tears now streaming down her face. "But if I hadn't looked at my phone, if I had seen them coming, I could have stopped. I could have saved him. Instead, he died because his mother couldn't wait 30 seconds to check a text message." Simon stood up slowly from his chair, not with dramatic purpose, but with the quiet understanding that what was about to happen required him to be fully present. He didn't walk onto the stage. He simply stood, waiting. "For the past 14 months, Claire said, "I've lived with the fact that my son is dead because of my carelessness, because I put a phone call above his safety for 1 single second." She wiped her eyes with her free hand, the one not holding the friendship bracelet. But before he died, in the hospital, he woke up for just a few minutes. He was so hurt, so broken, but he looked at me and said, "Mama, sing me the sleepy song." That's what he called the lullaby I sang to him every night since he was a baby. Her voice cracked completely on the word baby. So I sang to him. I sang, "You are my sunshine." And he closed his eyes and smiled. And then he said, "Promise me you'll sing it for everyone, Mama, so they know how much we love each other." Those were his last words to me. The host was crying openly now. In the audience, there wasn't a dry eye to be found. This wasn't just about performance. This was about a mother carrying the double burden of grief and guilt, trying to honor her child's memory while drowning in self-blame. "What will you be performing for us tonight?" the host asked, though the answer was obvious. "You are my sunshine," Claire replied, touching the blue bracelet one more time. "Ethan's sleepy song. The song I should have been focusing on instead of my phone." She looked directly into one of the cameras, as if speaking to someone far away. "This is for you, my beautiful boy. Mama's keeping her promise, even though she broke the most important one, keeping you safe." The backing track began softly, the gentle melody of the beloved lullaby filling the theater. Claire closed her eyes and took a shuddering breath. When she began to sing, her voice was thin with emotion, but pure with love. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray." The audience sat in absolute silence, understanding that they weren't just hearing a song. They were witnessing a mother's confession, her love letter to the child she'd failed to protect, her desperate attempt to find meaning in meaningless tragedy. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." Claire's voice broke on the word "away," and everyone in the theater felt the weight of those lyrics for a woman whose sunshine had been taken not by fate, but by her own moment of inattention. Simon began walking onto the stage, slowly, respectfully. He stopped several feet from Claire, not wanting to intrude but needing to be closer to witness this profound act of love and penance. "The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms." Claire sang about dreams that had become her only refuge, about nights when sleep brought her back to a time when Ethan was safe, when her biggest worry was whether he'd brushed his teeth before bed, when a phone call was just an annoyance and not the cause of ultimate tragedy. "When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken, so I hung my head and cried." The line hit like a physical blow. Claire's voice soared with a mixture of grief and guilt so profound that several audience members had to look away. She was singing about waking up every morning and remembering all over again that her son was gone, that her mistake had consequences that would last forever. At the judges' table, all pretense of professional composure had been abandoned. The other judges were crying openly, not just for Ethan, but for Claire, for the impossible burden she carried, for the way guilt can poison grief until even love becomes a source of pain. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray." As Claire repeated the chorus, her voice gained strength from somewhere beyond technique, beyond training. She was singing with the power of someone trying to transform self-hatred into love, trying to honor her son's memory despite believing she didn't deserve to. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." The final repetition of "Please don't take my sunshine away" was sung as a prayer, a plea, a desperate wish that somehow, some way, love could undo mistakes, that devotion could reverse time, that a mother's voice could reach across the boundary between life and death to tell her son one more time how precious he was. As the music faded, Claire stood with tears streaming down her face, clutching the blue friendship bracelet like a lifeline. The theater remained in complete silence, everyone understanding that they had just witnessed something beyond entertainment. They had witnessed a human soul laying itself bare in the hope of finding some small measure of peace. Then Simon began to speak, his voice thick with emotion. "Claire," he said, and his voice carried clearly through the silent theater. "Look at me." She raised her eyes to meet his, and the pain he saw there was almost unbearable. "What happened to Ethan was a tragedy," Simon continued. "But what you're carrying, this guilt, this self-blame, Ethan wouldn't want that for you." Claire shook her head, tears flowing faster. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If I hadn't looked at that phone—" "If," Simon interrupted gently but firmly. The most dangerous word in the English language for someone who's grieving. You could say "if" forever, and it won't change what happened. But what you just did, honoring your promise to your son, choosing love over self-destruction, that's what Ethan would want you to focus on. He moved closer, his voice growing stronger. "You are not defined by 1 second of distraction. You are defined by 8 years of love, by being the mother who sang him to sleep every night, by being here tonight, keeping the promise you made to him. That's who you are." Claire was sobbing now, the kind of tears that come from a place deeper than grief, from the place where forgiveness begins. Simon walked to the golden buzzer and placed his hand on it. "This isn't about judging your performance," he announced to the theater. "This is about honoring a mother's love and a little boy who wanted the world to hear how much he was loved." He looked back at Claire. "And this is about reminding everyone, including you, that we are all human, we all make mistakes, and we all deserve the chance to transform our pain into something meaningful." He pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti fell from the ceiling like gentle rain, the lights turned gold, and the music played. But Claire barely noticed the spectacle. She was looking at the blue bracelet on her wrist, seeing it not as a reminder of failure, but as a symbol of the love that had defined her relationship with Ethan. Before she left, Simon spoke with her privately for a long time. They talked about guilt, about healing, about what it means to honor a child's memory while learning to forgive yourself. "Ethan's last words to you weren't about your mistake," Simon told her. "They were about love. They were about wanting the world to know how much you loved each other. Tonight,